Hello, welcome to Celestial Bodies, a place to wonder in awe about the planets above. Today we have a full moon in Taurus. So whenever there is a full moon, the sun and the moon are in opposite signs of the zodiac. And before we even get into talking about the specifics of this full moon, I just wanted to talk about this aspect of opposites. And I think one of the most beautiful gifts of astrology is its ability to hold the tension of opposites. So through the mandala of the zodiac, I see every sign with its opposite. So with Taurus, we have Scorpio. With Libra, we have Aries. These opposites, they work together in some sort of way. There is a tension between them, but there's also a sort of message in the other if we have the ears to listen. And so I think that mandala of the zodiac, it gives us an opportunity to explore contrasts without judgment, to witness the interplay and the sort of dance between them. So today's full moon in Taurus, it exemplifies this cosmic balance. Because while the moon is in Taurus and it illuminates themes of growth, fertility, stability and earthy endurance, the sun is in Scorpio and it reminds us of transformation, decay and the cycles of death and rebirth. And so this kind of cosmic patterning is woven into every lunation cycle with different themes. I just think there's so much kind of beauty in the patterning, in that the exact moment the moon shines fully in Taurus, the sun sort of anchors us in Scorpio. So nature continuously kind of mirrors this interplay between, well, in this case, Taurus' steady earthiness meeting Scorpio's composting alchemy. And together they're asking us to embrace these opposites and find some sort of growth in their union. So let's take a look at our cards. So we do have the sun in the sign of Scorpio. So the sun is representing our kind of monthly cycle. But whenever every year when we have the sun in Scorpio, we always have the full moon in Taurus. Like, I just love the kind of the way the sky patterns itself into these opposites is just, I think it's cool. And so we have we'll hold that one back for now, but we have the moon in the sign of Taurus. And so the moon is giving us that sort of reflection point, that emotional counterbalance to the more sort of yang solar energy of the sun. So let's talk about Taurus. Taurus is a fixed earth sign ruled by the planet Venus. And so in Taurus, there's maybe an invitation on a Taurus full moon to reflect about thoughts about stability. Do you feel grounded and secure? Pleasure? Are you sort of savouring life and indulging in what nourishes you? And comfort, are you physically and emotionally, are your physical and sort of emotional needs being met? So when I think of Taurus, I think, Taurus loves the familiar and the pleasurable and the comforting, a warm blanket of sort of consistency. But the interesting thing about this full moon is that it also contains the energy of the planet Uranus, the planet of breakthrough. Now, Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus since 2019, and it will actually leave Taurus in 2025. So, these Uranian themes that have been running through the Taurus area of your chart might not be new, but maybe they're more illuminated on this full moon, or you're reflecting on what the sort of Uranus going through Taurus has been all about. So Uranus is more the planet of awakening and disruption and breakthroughs. It maybe more wants to shake the foundations of what's fixed, pushing us to sort of see new things, or just giving us something different to what you had before. So one of my favourite Uranus going through Taurus stories is that, so the Taurus area of my chart is the 7th house, and I have been with I've been with my partner for a very long time, but we're not married. But as Uranus, that planet of breakthrough and innovation, and just sometimes with Uranus you just get the opposite to what you've already had, that the Uranus going over my Venus and going through my 7th house is when I eventually got engaged after a long time of fixedness and not being there. So that's just a little way in which it can come up, because breakthroughs don't always have to be, disruptive. Sometimes they can just be the opposite of what you've been experiencing. So yeah, with Uranus there, on this full moon, it might have you also asking the questions of, where have I been too fixed? What habits or routines or preferences are looking to evolve or revolutionize? Is that a word? And maybe how like Taurus to me kind of rules in some ways your values and sometimes your money, but also your taste. So how have my tastes, or what I see as pleasurable, been changing as Uranus has been there, and maybe more potently during this full moon time. So Uranus is asking us for liberation and challenging us to innovate where we've been a bit stagnant. And for some of us, this could mean like radical shifts in values or resources or even material attachments. And what was once a source of comfort might now feel limiting, or maybe you've found more comfort in embracing change. So I suppose in some ways this full moon could be a moment to sort of reflect on how Uranus has been working through that Taurian area of your chart, as that's going to be a signature that will actually leave next year. It will leave the Taurus area of the chart next year. So what I thought I would finish with is to get a bit more specific and have a quick look at how this whereabouts in your chart this Taurus moon is sort of lighting up. So this is for your rising signs, and so this full moon is going to be lighting up a specific area of your chart depending on your rising sign, and this is also for whole signs, and I thought I'd quickly go through those. If you're unsure of what your rising sign is, what I'll do is I'll put a little link of where you can add in your birth, for like a free software where you can add in your birth details, and the rising sign is called the ascendant, and it's always the sign that occupies the first house. So I use whole sign astrology, so it'll be the whole of the first house, but if you use different house systems, that's also fine. But these readings are going to be from a whole sign house system. So let's have a little look. If you are an Aries rising, this full moon will be lighting up your 2nd house. So you might have a moment of kind of revelation, or kind of seeing things more clearly around, your values or how you value yourself. Or sort of, on this card obviously it says money, but it doesn't need to just be money. It could be almost like what are the things that you value that actually, like, what are your values or your gifts that also bring you money, and how are you using those resources? What are your resources? So yeah, with the full moon in your 2nd house, financial stability maybe, or personal resources, and you're maybe getting insights into how to manage this maybe differently if you're an Aries rising with the presence of Uranus there. And if you are a Taurus rising, then this full moon is happening not in your third house, but actually in your first house. So if you're a Taurus rising, then the moon is lighting up your first house of self and identity. So maybe you've been going through a process of like what was once your fixed sense of self kind of changing, that maybe even within the physical body, maybe your habits, what you do with your physical body has also changed during this time of Uranus going through your first house, but also perhaps more vividly during this, like you're kind of more aware of it, and this full moon is highlighting that as it sort of shines up that first house of the self. And let's move on to Gemini risings. For my Gemini risings, this full moon lights up your 12th house. So the 12th house is almost this full moon is like taking a torch into your subconscious, or lighting a candle and writing in your diary, and sort of like doing your morning pages, or a sort of, delving into your subconscious thoughts or the patternings there. With the full moon there and Uranus being there for a while, maybe there has been an awakening within that area of the chart, within how things that were maybe hidden to you before are coming out into the light. And then also, the sort of the processes and the kind of tools that you might need to enable yourself with, be it journaling or contemplation, meditation, any tools that help you navigate through that space. For my Cancer risings, this lunation lights up your 11th house. And so the 11th house, the house of friendships and networks, and kind of like your hopes and dreams and how other people help you get those. So since 2019, with Uranus being in that house, maybe there's been some kind of unusual surprises in that area of how like friendships or communities or social circles have come in to, as this card is, like give a helping hand. And this lunation may be you reflecting on that or noticing what that was, or actually that coming in again now more brightly, as this, for your Cancer risings, this full moon kind of illuminating that aspect today and over the next few days. For my Leo risings, okay, this full moon is lighting up your 10th house. So going back, Uranus has been going through your 10th house since 2019. Breakthroughs within the workplace that you maybe never would have expected, within your career space. And so the full moon here might be almost like a pinnacle moment within that sort of cycle, or a moment of thinking there's a new direction again. The stability that is come, there's maybe even another direction you want to shift into now. Is this, because this full moon's directly conjunct this Uranus, I wonder what that's bringing to your career space. That where maybe the thing that is stable, being the thing that needs to shift for the breakthrough, perhaps. For Virgo risings, This full moon lights up your 9th house of learning. So for Virgo risings, I wonder if you've been going through quite maybe a lot of breakthroughs in terms of the studies you've been doing, or even the belief systems that you have now. Maybe as Uranus has been travelling through that sign, that the longer process has been like maybe quite a lot of shifts in that. The full moon of this moment may be a kind of ripening, and you recognising all of the things that you've brought in, but also perhaps a further breakthrough at this moment around the themes of learning, or like writing or publishing, you know, anything around sort of this kind of higher learning and wisdom seeking. So it's maybe not just you know, the learning from books, but how you see the world now is change. It has been changing, and maybe there's something you're seeing it more clearly as this moon illuminates in Taurus. For my Libra risings, Libra risings takes this full moon into your 8th house. And so perhaps for Libras, there have been movements and shifts, maybe some disruptive shifts, maybe awakening shifts within the deeper contracts of your life, the things in which how we give ourselves to others and what we get back in return. You know, contracts are normally made when there's a shared resource, in a sense, and so that you're you know, everybody's getting sort of something fairly, which is a very kind of Libra thing anyway. But maybe there's been some sort of breakthroughs happening in terms of like financial or emotional like bonds or contracts, and there's a push for that to work in a balanced way. If it's been out of balance, I suppose Uranus is kind of pushing for a transformation of that, which can maybe sometimes be uncomfortable for Libras who like to keep the peace, in a sense. And so maybe they take on more of the burden, and so maybe this full moon is kind of lighting up that sense of like boundary in which what a contract is actually set out to bring about. And that's what I'm feeling into the Libra rising place. And for Scorpio risings, so as I said to you before, Scorpio rising is, well, I was saying to you that Taurus is my 7th house, so yes, I am a Scorpio rising. And this full moon lights up the 7th house of partnerships or relationships. So this has been, the Uranus part of this has been a long kind of moment of Uranus going through your 7th house since like 2019, bringing its many shifts and revolutions into that kind of partnership sharing space. And also those revolutions, as I say, can be like the nice ones, like getting a really nice like opal ring, which I love, but also it can, you know, it can be other shifts, breakthroughs can be of both kind of disruptive and non-disruptive. And you know, going through the relationship space when it contains others, that's one of the hot spots of life, right? And so it might have also been bringing more freedom into your relationships, and more almost like spontaneity, and maybe even just doing things with your partners that you never possibly thought you would do, and all of what that kind of brings, that newness, that revolutionary spark into the relationship area. And this full moon is kind of maybe a reflection point of all that has been, or a moment of just like, you know, you and your partner doing something out of the box, and that being really sort of nourishing, perhaps. For my Sagittarius risings, this full moon lights up your 6th house of work and the kind of day-to-day life, the things that we do day to day, the habits that we do, and also the kind of responsibilities perhaps that we have day to day in life. And so Uranus has been going through this part of your chart. So I wonder what breakthroughs you've had in terms of your day-to-day routines over this last few years. Like, has Uranus presence there shifted things in your, you know, day-to-day responsibilities, and what way has that been positive and what way has that been disruptive? And I suppose this full moon here is illuminating that area again, maybe having you notice and reflect on the shifts that have happened, and actually maybe how some of them, although disruptive, have ultimately maybe led to less fixedness, maybe even less mundaneness almost in your kind of place of work. Or it says work here, but I see it more of that place of the daily grind in a sense. So reflecting on that on this full moon, and sort of giving, on every full moon, I've not even mentioned this yet, it's good to kind of see what fruit was grown, you know, what fruit has been grown in this Taurus space of the chart, and then to allow a kind of natural release. We always kind of let go, in a sense, during a full moon, to let that pass as well and release. So, but it's definitely a fruition moment within this area, and one to maybe reflect upon what that means for that kind of workspace, that workplace or just daily routine space of the chart. For my Capricorn risings, this full moon lights up your 5th house, the fun house, of pleasure and creativity and children and fun, and you know, everything. It's quite almost like lighthouse in a sense, and so for Capricorn risings, maybe, you know, Capricorn risings, you're quite, you know, you get things done, and you climb various ladders towards the top of the mountain, and so, but maybe you and maybe you also like a kind of stable, settled sense of pleasure. Uranus has been there, and so it's been bringing a bit more unpredictability to that space during its time there, shaking things up. You know, if you're a Capricorn rising, you're an earth sign in a sense, and so stability and that sort of like steadily climbing is very much your ballpark. And so I feel like this could have brought Uranus being there could have brought a real revolution into how you experience pleasure, and could have maybe even found you lots of interesting hobbies along the way. And so this may be a moment to just reflect in that space, just to think about all that was grown in there as Uranus spent its time there during this full moon, conjunct Uranus. For my Aquarius risings, this full moon is in your 4th house, and so it's in that house of, that's like the base of the chart. It's like the home. It's like where you're able to be your most self. It's like the foundations, the ancestors. And so I wonder, for Aquarius risings, I mean, I suppose I just wonder, has there been a lot of moving with Uranus there since 2019, maybe your sense of stability, which is a very, like you've got Taurus down there, your sense of stability has shifted somewhat. You've moved, and so you've had to set up a new home, perhaps, maybe. But in any sense, how has that shifted, that breakthrough of shifting within that root-like space, brought more into your Taurian space of like comfort. If with Taurus in the 4th house, then you want a space in which to really sort of bed in, really be comfortable. And so maybe even it's just changes within your existing home that you feel like the need for a change there. And this full moon's kind of highlighting that for Aquarius Risings perhaps. And to finish with Pisces Risings, the full moon of today is in your 3rd house. The 3rd house is the house of communication, also siblings, and sort of learning, the mind. And so Uranus has been going through this house. The 3rd house is also kind of this house of your sort of your local space, everything that's local, your local coffee shop, your park, the people you see as you walk down the street, the local people that are around you, the culture that's around you, even everything that surrounds you. And so Uranus has been there, and maybe your locals and how you see them, that's been going through shifts. You've shifted perhaps even how you are within your local space. Maybe there's been shifts for your siblings. Maybe this full moon is bringing up a big moment for a sibling, because sometimes it's not, when it's a house like the 3rd house that does rule siblings, sometimes this full moon's not necessarily affecting you so much unless you have planets there, but sometimes others. And so maybe there's been a big kind of like whenever there's a full moon, it's also a sense of like revealing. And so a sibling is going through more of a kind of breakthrough or almost disruptive moment or revealing moment, which you are, in the past our siblings would have probably lived close to us, so it would affect us closely. And even if our siblings don't live close, they still affect us closely because they are our brothers or they are our sisters. And even maybe there's some sort of thing in your local environment that's also having a similar kind of effect on you. And that takes us to the end of our going through the signs. I hope that some of that caught for you, maybe it even just catches sort of an ember, and you go with it in your imagination and you take it to where it needs to go, because I don't know everybody's situation, and I'm trying to just like kind of light a candle of a thought within you that you can then sort of take around your sort of moon space or your moon altar, or as you look at the moon, and explore. So some final thoughts on this Taurus full moon. It's a call for balance and stability and change, for comfort and disruption. They're opposites. They seem like they can't live together in a sense, and that's what I started with, right? This kind of holding of opposite things, which I feel like astrology does so well. And so I thought I would leave you with the words of Elias Lonsdale, who channeled Sabian symbols for each degree of the zodiac. And so this is for the degree in which the moon is on, which is 24 degrees Taurus, and you read up a degree, so I'm reading the 25th degree of Taurus. And I thought this was maybe quite a nice thing to end on. So, bees returning to their hive. Thematic worlds coming round again just as before, just like always. The highest and the best. maintained and sustained beautifully, impeccable superlatively, knowing inside that what counts, what is essential, is to abide, to be. You are a vast world unto yourself, an extraordinary network of interconnecting, intersecting dynamics. But the witness consciousness is blissfully sitting back in a restful perch, letting everything go by. And in the very centre of this dispassion and wakeful scrutinising, one indwells a Buddha realisation attained by hard work in many lives, and now being your innermost identity in an identityless way. Oh, I just love that. I really love that. Your innermost identity in an identityless way. So I think that this symbol encapsulates the energy of a Taurus full moon. It speaks of the sort of cyclical nature of life, the comfort of returning to what sustains us, to the bee's nest, and the deep wisdom found in simply being, which is very Taurian. Just be, just lie, just enjoy the grass and smell the rose. But it also acknowledges the detachment of self-realisation required to embrace transformation and evolution. And these are qualities Uranus brings in this lineation. So as the bees return to their hive, we'll return to what nourishes us and grounds us, but remain sort of open to the dynamic sort of intersection of the opposites and how that helps us grow. So I'll leave you with that. If you listen to the end, well done, thank you. And please share this with a friend, like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. That would really help. You know, I probably should have said this, you're supposed to say this at the start, but yeah, it would be nice if you do enjoy it to just show it a little love. That would be wonderful. Have a great weekend, a lovely full moon, and see you next time. Bye.